In the heart of the city, where dreams intertwine, sisterhood's a melody, a rhythm so divine. When the world feels heavy and shadows start to fall, I'll be there to lift you through it all. In the glow of the sun.
Hey y'all, this is Cam, Dr. Kimberly Wilson. We will be having
In the heart of the city, where dreams intertwine, sisterhood's a melody, a rhythm so divine. When the world feels heavy and shadows start to fall, I'll be there to lift you through it all. In the glow of the sun. In the heart of the city, where dreams intertwine, sisterhood's a melody, a rhythm so divine. When the world feels heavy and shadows start to fall, I'll be there to lift you through it all. In the glow of the sunrise, our spirits take flight. Together we're unstoppable, shining through the night. With every step we take, hand in hand we'll go. In this dance of life, our love will always flow. When your crown feels heavy, slipping from your grace, I'll be there to steady, with a smile on your face. Through the highs and lows, the laughter and the tears, I'll be by your side, dissolving all your fears. In the breeze of summer nights, under starlit skies, we'll share our secrets, no need for disguise. With each whispered promise, our bond becomes strong. In the sisterhood of ours, we always belong. When storms start to gather and skies turn gray, we'll find shelter together, come what may. For unity's embrace, we
come on in. This is Fixing Your Crown with Dr. Kimberly Wilson, as well as Anti-Violence. Tonight's topic is the chilling story of Angela Simpson. Come on. We have a very interesting topic. Let me know you're on by saying hello in the comments. We are going to get started. I have some great information. If you guys don't know who Angela Simpson is from our previous live about stalking, who's watching, we showed an example of Angela Simpson. And a couple of you guys wanted to know more information about her. So you guys come on. We're going to get into it. And yeah, I have a lot more information. It gets juicier. I'm also going to give commentary on what I feel like she should be diagnosed with. The system has failed her, as well as failed the victim. And so she should have never been allowed to be on the streets at all. So come on in, say hello. Let me know you're on. I am going to share the link. That is the link right there. Anti-Violence, if you come in, that's the link for you. And again, this is for information purposes only. This information is not to diagnose or treat anyone. This is my commentary, my opinion, allegedly. And so this information that will be given throughout this broadcast is not to treat or diagnose anyone. Hello, Anti-Violence. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone that's in the bushes. Hit that like and share button. Tonight's commentary is on the chilling story of Angela Simpson. We visited her on the Stalking Who's Watching show, and a couple of you guys wanted to know more about her, so I did some research. Also, Anti-Violence did some research on her, and so we're going to dive into hello, Andre Love, how are you? We are going to dive more into who is Angela Simpson. Okay. We're going to talk about her very bleak past, which explains why the court system did not take in a tribute to her mental health, because her mental health background is nowhere to be found. She doesn't have any record. So we're going to dive in. Anti-violence. I did drop the link for you. Again, all the Bushwatchers, welcome. This is Fixing Your Crown with Dr. Kimberly Wilson. My gracious host is Anti-Violence. She will come on, and we're going to dive right into Angela Simpson. When you come in, please come in with respect and grace, as we will extend that to you. Again, this information is for informative, searching, research-based. This is not to treat or diagnose anyone. Oh, yeah. So, okay, let's get on into it. Angela Simpson. Who is Angela Simpson? Right? Angela Simpson is a murderer. She got a disabled white male in a wheelchair. She tortured him for 3 days before stabbing him 50 times, dismembering his body, setting his dismembered body on fire, and dumping his body in the trash can of a cathedral church. Okay, so for everyone that's wondering, who is Angela Simpson? So we're going to go into her first beginnings and who she are, and then we're going to go right on through. You have any questions, concerns? I will play the video again of one of her interviews, so for you guys to get a quick understanding of who she is, and we're going to dive right into it. All right, let's go. Hey, Sharon. Hey, sis. Welcome, welcome. Share the live, sis. Hello, Miss Brittany. I am feeling much better. God be the glory. I had to go get me a shot, though, because I was itching everywhere. It had just took its course. Again, y'all see my face is clear. I don't wear makeup. I don't wear makeup, nothing but eyeliner and eyeshadow for the haters out there. My face has cleared, no black spots and blotches. God, I'm grateful because I was looking scary for the last 3 days. So I shook back. They gave me some medicine. I shook back. I had a headache today, though. But I took something and I'm feeling much better. Thanks so much for asking. Again, you guys wanted some more commentary on Angela Simpson. This is what it is about. Make sure you guys like the video as well. And we're going to get into it. Angela Simpson, I'm not gonna say crazy, because we try not to use those terms, but she exhibited some bad crazy tendencies. She showed no remorse for killing Mr. Terry Neely. And so we're going to dive into it. I'm going to show you guys some interviews of her. Me and Anti-Violence is also going to dive into how the court systems failed her. What mental illness we believe based on the scientific evidence that she may be suffering with, and how the medical community, if she was going to be treated failed her and failed her victims. Okay, so Angela was born November the 29th, 1975. She has 4 children that she refuses to talk about for the most part and has led a very strange life. Now, I consider myself to be a major, great researcher. I have researched Angela Simpson for almost a week, and it's hard to find anything on her childhood. It's hard to find anything about her children or anything. So I don't know if they, because of who she are, wanted to remain anonymous and didn't want to have any ties to her. But it is very hard to find anything prior to her kidnapping and torturing and killing Mr. Terry. She has been diagnosed with several mental disorders and had been in and out of mental health facilities since the age of 10. She didn't have a very good childhood. She never had a normal job. And as soon as she got out of the hospital, she started taking drugs. So, but what is interesting is she's been in and out of mental hospitals, but there is no record of it. So I don't know if the courts or someone had her record sealed, because I have a way of finding out information, and even I could not crack the code on Angela Simpson's mental health records. So something is not adding up. Something seems to be a little bit fishy with that, because again, her mental health records are either sealed, or the claims of her going in and out of the hospital since the age of 10 that she said in her interview is untrue. She didn't have a very good childhood, and as I stated, once she got out of jail, she started taking drugs. She began to be committing crimes to get money to buy more drugs. She then began to work for sex to pay for her drugs and cover her bills. Angela never lived a normal life. She never got a chance to form any real relationships, but she still had 4 children. It was not, I couldn't even find any information on any of her children's father. So it's like this lady never existed until she decided to kill Terry Neely. None of them lived with her. Angela will not. Oh, let me go back. She was arrested twice for prostitution. So she was arrested in the system for prostitution. None of them lived with her. Angela will not talk about the circumstances of how she became a mother or who the father or fathers are. So, by her being in prostitution, maybe some of her children, and this is just allegedly a speculation, maybe her children were conceived out of her prostitution situation, or maybe hopefully she wasn't violated in any way, but she seems to have a serious hate for white men. So something is really, really strange, but we're going to dive into it a little more. Her family, she grew up going in and out of prison. Mental illness and abuse were all things that were considered normal. So as we go through this article more, I said in the previous show, it seems as if she was either harmed or abused because of her hatred towards white men. She spoke in her interview regarding her mental illness. The only information she's willing to divulge is that she has battled with it since the age of 10. She also went on to say that it was no excuse of what she did and that she wants no sympathy. Okay, we're going to dive into her crime. She killed a man named Terry Neely. He was a paraplegic. He was confined to a motorized wheelchair. He could use his legs, but not for an extended amount of time. He lived in an assisted living care facility, and the last time he was seen alive was on video footage that the police would eventually take from that assisted care facility. The footage showed Terry leaving the facility alone around 8 p.m. on August the 2nd, 2009. Okay. It showed him leaving the facility. Terry Neely had a mental disability, and it was said that he was a little slow. People who knew him would describe him as a very friendly, easygoing. When asked if he had any enemies or had recently fought with anyone, no one could offer any leads because Terry was said to be well liked within the community. Remember, y'all, when I showed Angela's interview, she said he was a snitch. What was he snitching about? Because the community does not corroborate her story of him being a snitch and a bad guy. No one at the facility had a single clue about where he had went or with who. So the police had little to nothing to go on in finding him. A lot of people knew who Terry was, but that didn't mean he knew a lot of people. He had no family or genuine friends in the area. Terry was found. He was found at a church in the community in the trash can. So I'm going to, before I catch you guys up with the rest of the story, I am going to show you guys Angela's interview again. Angela's interview will shed some light on how she feels so you guys can better understand her behavior. I'm going to show this most recent one. All right, let me share this screen because it is very interesting.
Shelby County Jail. One in particular made an equally striking impression on both our crew and detention staff. Her name is Angela Simpson.
Simpson, I think, is a very scary individual. She's probably the only one in there that I take every precaution in the world to make sure my staff and myself are safe. She is the one in this whole jail that creeps me out, for a better word.
I was the first person on the crew to get introduced to Angela Simpson, and upon meeting her, the first things that came out of her mouth when I approached her, she pretty much told me to go F myself. For someone to right off the bat be like, hey, go F yourself. It's like, all right, welcome to jail.
Simpson is a very scary person. She is, just by the nature of her crimes and the way that she has been here and just her manners and that, she just doesn't seem to have a lot of those inhibition controls that most people would. And because of that, she can be very much a threat to staff. So we have to keep her in a very controlled setting.
Simpson was accused of kidnapping, torturing, and murdering a man she believed to be a police informant. She is then said to have dismembered the corpse, set it on fire, and to have thrown the remains in a dumpster.
I heard they said I was possessed by the devil. I think that's hilarious. Isn't that beautiful?
The media says you did some pretty heinous things. Does that bug you?
Does it bug me? What people say? No. My give a is broke. I really don't. I have no concern for what people think. I told my kids when they were babies, they saw a guy behind a Circle K. I told them that's how cops grow. So, yeah. I didn't know that they would the next week go alley and try to grow a cop. That was not my intention, but yeah.
She seems to have a true gang-type mentality. Snitches, get stitches, wind up in ditches. No cop is a good cop. She'll stare you down sometimes, and it's you get the little hair on the back of your neck standing up.
I've asked God a lot to spontaneously combust officers, just to watch them pop.
Where does that come from?
Where does it come from?
Your hatred of cops.
That's not something I'll discuss.
Simpson could face the death penalty for first-degree murder and kidnapping. The charred, dismembered remains of the victim, who authorities state was not an informant, were discovered inside a trash can. He had been stabbed 50 times and showed other signs of torture. Though Simpson has entered a not guilty plea in court, she openly describes some of her actions to us.
I have to say, I have never met an inmate who made me so uncomfortable. What did you do that you would consider torture?
Ripped his teeth out. That's my favorite.
How'd you do that?
With some needle nose pliers. Kind of rip, you know.
What made you think of that,
What made me think of it?
to do that?
Prior tooth pain. Pretty agonizing. Yeah. I thought maybe I could distribute that.
The victim also had a 3-inch nail driven into his head.
She is the one in this whole jail that creeps me out, for a better word. You know, she just, you just don't know what she's going to do.
Thank you, Miss Simpson. The visceral descriptions that she gave of her crime, of torturing an individual and dismembering her victim, I had never heard anybody describe anything like that, and I had certainly never heard anybody describe it with such glee.
Anything I can do to help put a snitch down is my pleasure.
So it was your pleasure when you committed this murder?
See, that's kind of up. I'm thinking, I don't know what my lawyer would say if I answered that straight out. Hold on, yes. Yes, it was. But, yeah.
It was really extraordinarily disturbing. I still think about it.
It's pretty rewarding work. It's great for the soul.
What were you trying to get out of it?
He thought it was funny that the people he had snitched on would never get out of prison. So I wanted him to know how funny it was that they didn't need to.
And I guess the strange thing for me was during the whole interview, I was 2 feet from her. I was holding a reflector to try to block some stray light. And as she's telling these stories.
Can you describe maybe the things you did?
No, because I'll get all excited and he'll be in trouble. No, I don't think I should do that. Yeah, just he's too close for me to, get all hot with the story. So leave that alone.
And I just laughed it off, thinking it was this big joke. And as she told her story, I realized, well, maybe she wasn't joking.
Is it hard to chop up a human body?
Nah, not really. You'd be amazed. It's quite simple, actually. You should try it. It's only a felony 6. Knock it down to a misdemeanor. Dismemberment it's a really low charge.
Sometimes it seemed like she was playing a game. And then other times you could tell that it wasn't a game anymore, but she was reciting something that she actually, something that she likes to talk about. Every now and then I would pop in and just go talk to Angela, check in with her. And a lot of times she would just be sitting there drawing, and she would always be in a zen-like state, just very calm while she was sitting here doing her drawings. She told me she'd done some drawings for some Christmas cards, and I was expecting to see, something happy or light for some reason. I don't know why. And these drawings ended up being probably some of the most graphic things I've ever seen.
It's one from my brother. I got to send that to him. It's from the Pigs in a Blanket series. Don't you love the Pigs in a Blanket? It's just so cute, isn't it?
Angela, you must see that it makes things
exactly, Brittany. Look at her drawings, though.
It's not exactly conducive to a good rapport between you and the officers.
I think it is. We know what we are. They know what they are. What's the, there's no problem.
You don't think that that's slightly insulting to them or slightly threatening?
No. Can I show you one that is? Maybe it could be threatening, but I didn't mean it that way. This was my first officer down picture. That could be rude, but not really. Illustrations. I might make a kid's book or something, for the baby gangsters coming up.
Officer Down series. Tell me about that.
5 or 6 Officer Down.
What's happening in this picture?
A cop has been captured and we're having fun with him. Yeah, it's just a Christmas card, but they get uncomfortable when they find these things.
When I saw Angela's
she said that's
drawings,
the Christmas card,
they were so disturbing, and they really got to this deep, deep, deep-seated hatred that she seems to have for police officers.
They use their authority in any way they want to because they can, and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Simpson went on to explain how she ranks those she considers to be the lowest of the lows.
Chomos are definitely beyond any doubt the worst and most vile creatures on the planet. Yes, snitches then would come in second, and cops would be third. Yeah.
How about people who murder other people?
What about them?
Where do they fall
And where?
in your hierarchy?
Of badness? They don't. You want to throw murderers in with cops and chomos? Are you serious? You're kidding, right? You can't put murderers in a category with up people. That doesn't make any sense. Rest assured, if somebody killed it, they had a reason to do it. You need to be looking at the dead motherfucker, not the motherfucker that killed it.
Do you have any guilt about any of that stuff?
Guilt, yes. I'm overrun with remorse. Justice. Justice is lovely.
This is not normal behavior.
What are you thinking? When I said justice is lovely, what were you thinking?
I was thinking how you feel about justice if they give you that.
That's exactly what I knew you were thinking. I'll be thinking the same thing.
That justice is beautiful.
Justice is lovely.
Okay, so this is one of her other interviews I did not show on the last one. So that just goes to show you guys how she viewed death. It's funny. She said murderers should not be put in jail. Murderers are not bad people. You should be looking at the people that they murdered instead of looking at the murderer. I've never heard that logic before, even in my prior law enforcement experience. I can tell you guys this. She would be someone that I would have to get my captain to interview. She would have made me very uncomfortable. The laughing would have really raised the hair on the back of my neck up. And it would have really been like, are you really freaking kidding me here? So even interviewing her, it's really hard to get any straight answer. Everything seems to be funny. It seems to be a riddle, seems to be a game. She has no touch of reality. She said in her other interview, jail is where all her people are at. So she doesn't have any problem with being with family, but she's in solitary. They have her in the cell by herself, and then she has even the jail correction officer scared to interact with her because of her behavior. Do you guys have any questions moving forward before I dive into more information on Miss Angela? Anti-violence, you have anything? Okay. Let's go, Anti. Let me know if you have anything to add to that. All right. So, where was I? All right. This is how they find her. Finds him. Hold up. Let me go back. 1 second. All right. Phoenix firefighters discovered the body of 46-year-old Terry We didn't hear you, Anti, at all. We did not hear you. A Phoenix woman accused of stabbing and dismembering a wheelchair-bound man before burning his body pled guilty, which is, the Phoenix woman is Angela Simpson. Phoenix firefighters discovered the body of 46-year-old Terry Neely in a lit trash can on August the 5th, 2009. Neely lived in assisted living. We went over that. Police say Simpson claims she killed Neely because he was a snitch. Hold on. I'm on the wrong order. Hold on. Where is that? Okay. When firefighters showed up at the church, they called out to a garbage can fire. When they got there to the garbage can fire, they had no idea it was a dismembered corpse in there. So think about the feelings that they had when they arrived to see a cut up body in them. They quickly realized it wasn't a prank because they thought at first it was a prank. And when they seen the charred remains of what appears to be a male body inside of that trash can, firefighters called police onto the scene to begin their investigation. The next few days would serve to be a challenge for everyone involved. No one knew at that point who the body belonged to because the care facility never reported Mr. Terry missing. Now this body has literally been burnt beyond recognition. The legs were cut off. One of the arms had attempted to be chopped off as well. The body could not even be identified through dental records because the teeth had been torn out of his mouth. This body had very nearly been completely destroyed. During the autopsy, the medical examiner would note that the fingertips were almost completely burned off, but were still partially there. So she cut off had an attempted to chop off his arm. She had chopped off one of his other arms. This was very gruesome. By piecing together the fragments of the remaining prints to make one entire print, the medical examiner was finally able to identify the body of Terry Neely. So they had to piece together his fingerprints to be able to determine who he was. They had to piece together his fingerprints, y'all. Like, this was very gruesome. To cut off his legs. You attempted to cut off one of his arms. You had them pulled all his teeth out his mouth. The autopsy report will show that Terry Neely had sustained multiple blunt force wounds to his head. He had also at least 50 different stab wounds all over his body. His teeth had been removed from his mouth in a very unprofessional way. His throat was slit, and he had a 3-inch screw through his forehead embedded into his skull and brain. None of those things, however, were the cause of death. Wow. Those wounds were in the very early stages of healing, which means that Terry was alive for all of it. Remember, she got him and tortured him for 3 days. She said that she regret not torturing him for longer. The actual cause of death was strangulation from a TV wire. So his actual cause of death after being stabbed, teeth removed, a screw through his skull into his brain, was not what killed him. It was strangulation from a TV wire. How Miss Angela ended up getting caught, you guys, was the press released a story about what had happened to Terry. And the locals were terrified because whoever was responsible had not been caught yet. After asking around the neighborhood and the church, someone told the police to look at a woman named Angela Simpson. So they go another snitch. Remember, she don't like snitches. The informant told police that they had seen Angela and Terry together on more than one occasion doing drugs outside of an apartment complex. So they both were on drugs. Speculation during this time, the crack epidemic was very, very prevalent. So I'm assuming it may have been crack. They don't say what drug, but I do know the 99 in the early 2000s crack epidemic was very bad. Angela Simpson and a man named Edward McFarland had been put in jail for committing an armed robbery early that same day. I don't know. They didn't show up on her record.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I've read in several other commentaries that her and the guy were already in jail when she was charged and questioned about this for armed robbery. That's what she got that additional 14-year sentence for, was the other crime.
Oh, for the robbery. Yes, Brittany, that's what we're talking about now. I just showed an interview, another interview of her, a different kind of interview. And I am now going over her early years, how she got caught, how she killed him, his injuries. I went over his autopsy report as well, the Terry Neely guy. Now, this is how she got caught. Her and another guy named Edward McFarland had been put in jail for committing an armed robbery earlier that same day. So Anti-Violence stated that when she read on it, she was already in jail, so they didn't have to go find her for committing armed robbery. That's why she got the additional 14 years to her already life sentence, which makes no sense because she got a true life sentence, which means she will never be let out. It was said that informant was the complex manager. He would also tell police that Edward McFarland, who went by the name Cracker, had told him everything. He had bragged about how he helped Angela get rid of the body after she killed him and told him that if he had said anything, he would end up the same way. Remember, she had an issue with the people that she said she thought was solid. Remember? She was like, she thought they were her friends and she thought they were cool. She had love for them, and come to find out they had told on her. Those are the two people she's talking about. Police began to question the locals about Edward Cracker McFarland. I'm going to show you guys a picture of him. You can tell he's really strung out on the drugs as well. You can see that he is really living a really hard life. That is a picture of her accomplice, Mr. Edward Cracker McFarland. Look at his teeth. You can tell he is freebasing if you are familiar with how drugs do to your body. That pipe has ate them. That bottom row of his teeth is gone. All right, so that is Edward Cracker McFarland. That's who she went to jail for on armed robbery. All right. So, I mean, where I was. Okay, police began to question the locals about Edward and Angela, and they all said similar things. They said she had been a friend of Terry's. It was said they had been friendly for a while and they seemed to have a lot in common. They were both criminals and drug addicts who had done time in prison. The locals said that Angela was a sex worker and they believed that Terry was her pimp. How is Terry going to be her pimp? That made no sense to me, but okay. Police then headed over to Angela's apartment where they saw an abandoned motorized wheelchair on the grass. The police obtained a warrant and searched the apartment. Inside, they found that the carpet had been torn up. There was minimal furniture that included a chair and a floor-length mirror. They found needle nose pliers, a gallon of great value bleach. Here are crime scene photos right here of the bleach. Let me show that as well. And y'all, criminal justice was my first love, so I enjoyed diving into looking up this case. That is the bleach. So they found bleach, which is commonly used to clean up crime scenes. All right, the confession. When they confronted her, Angela confessed openly. She seems to be very open, almost bragging about her crime. She laughed about it. She seems to laugh about it a lot while eating a candy bar. Angela said that she killed Terry by deceptively luring him into apartment 201. She said that she sat him down and beat him with various objects until he was unconscious, then slit his throat. She then said that she cut his appendix off. Why did she do this? She claims it was because Terry said that he was a snitch. He claimed to have told on several righteous people. She beat him for 3 days. She pulled out his teeth and hammered a screw into his brain. She made him sit in front of a mirror while she tortured him for 3 days. She made him sit in front of the mirror and torture him for 3 days. Again, definitely not behavior of someone with sound mental health. She said this was to show him what he deserved. He was alive for most of it, Angela said. This wasn't the only time she killed, but said that she wouldn't say how many. Remember in the beginning, I said she was a serial killer. And remember during this time, it was a lot of white males coming up mutilated. So she was picked up around 2009. I am going to be looking into cases in Phoenix area around 2007, 2008 that matches Angela's MO. The police had told her that Cracker had said that both Angela and him had killed Terry. Angela insisted that he had nothing to do with it. She says the only way Cracker was involved at all was when she borrowed his car to dispose of the body. So she wouldn't tell on her friend, and I don't think she thought her friend would tell on her. Police never found any evidence that he had actually helped in killing Terry. Angela said on the night of August 2nd, she lured Terry out of his care home at about 8 p.m. on an empty promise of sex and drugs at the apartment. She knew those were the things he would come for. He was her regular client. So he was her regular client and having sex. And if she was offering sex for free, he would take it. She says she told Terry that they would do some drugs, and that's how she got him along. He left and went to meet up with her. She took him to the apartment she had access to in North Phoenix. She told police that when she got him inside, her whole persona dropped. You say the guy that you had on the screen, was he in a gang? Sometimes that's the case. be protected if they are in a gang, but sometimes that's not the case. Other people may try and harm people. No, he was her accomplice to the armed robbery. He was one of her friends that did drugs with her, and I'm assuming she did sex acts with him as well, because this has stated that she done sex acts with Terry as well. That's how she lured him back to the apartment. She did sexual acts with him. She told him she was going to give him free sex and they were going to be able to do drugs. So she was able to lure him to the apartment. That's how she got him to leave his assisted living place that he was living at. So she took him into the apartment, and once she got him in the apartment, she dropped the persona of pretending to be his friend, and she probably became what we see on her interviews. They weren't friends, and she made it clear that she hated him. She grabbed a tire iron, she hid it in the apartment, and began beating him over his head with it. She did this until he was bleeding but still conscious. She wanted him awake and struggling. Very calculated. This was only the beginning. The thing she did to him literally is a nightmare. Terry was subject to 3 days, at least 72 consecutive hours of pure torture. She kept him locked there and continued to brutally torture him to near death. She beat him every day with her hands and various weapons, including a tire iron and hammer. She stabbed him, burnt him, pulled his teeth out with pliers, hammered a 3-inch screw into his skull brain right in the middle of his forehead, and sliced his throat. Not deep enough to kill him, just enough to hurt. She set him in front of a full-length mirror and made him watch it all happen. He was disabled. Remember, y'all, this man was disabled. He couldn't just walk away. She didn't give him food, water, or toilet breaks. After the next few days, he would grow weak, and Angela got bored. No more fun to have with him. She tied an electric wire around his neck, tightening it until he stopped breathing and died. She then chopped his legs off, started to chop his arms off, but gave up and decided she was done. She borrowed a car from Edward. She loaded Terry's body up and drove to the church. She found the trash can and put his remains inside and set it on fire. Angela says she did it because Terry had told her multiple times that he was an informant for the CIA, that everyone he snitched on was serving time in prison because of him. Angela hated snitches. In her opinion, they, along with pedophiles, were the worst things and deserved to die. At one point, Angela says he told on a lot of high up people. And later she says she didn't know anyone that he snitched on. Angela claims to have a deep hatred for white men. She states that white men have wronged her in the worst way in her life, and she hates white men. They are bottom scum and deserve to die. So, in my beliefs of Angela, I feel she's very self-righteous and she's a very attention seeker. In my opinion, she's a psychopath for sure. The only time that she tends to show any emotion is when you talk about her 4 children. Angela reminds me of Ellen Wuornos, which was another killer. And so she comes alive on the camera. She really gets into her character in her role. And she's going to be in jail for life. So she also believes in two groups of people that should be killed immediately, and that's pedophiles and snitch. So she also is a compulsive liar. So I think she may have exaggerated about being treated for some of those mental health issues, and the court did not buy it because I read her court documents and there is nowhere in the court dockets of her mental illness. They did not, she did not plead insanity. Had she been treated that much since she was 10, the courts would have definitely deemed her mentally incompetent. Now, she most definitely has a mental issue. She most definitely has a mental issue.
Yes, and from what I was reading, um, by expert psychologists, they all agree with your assessment that Angela Simpson is exhibits many traits associated with psychopathy, including the lack of empathy, remorse, and a propensity for violent behavior. Her actions and demeanor during interviews suggest a callous disregard for human life.
And she exhibits a narcissist. I don't know why that word always trips me up, but she exhibits psychopathic and narcissist behavior. She loves to manipulate. She wants attention. It's all about her, and they put on a show, and so she exhibits all that behavior. From looking at her different interviews, I attribute to, in my professional opinion, one of her definitely mental illness is borderline personality. Where she, let me read to y'all on borderline personality. So
And
y'all
while you pulling that up, an expert also agreed that her confession and her testimony indicates psychological, deep-seated psychological disorder.
yes. Unstable relationships, unclear and shifting self-image, impulsive, self-destructive behavior. She has extreme emotional swings, explosive anger. As she was able to switch it off, she played and pretended to be giving him sex and drugs. This was someone she had been having a sexual relationship with, as well as doing drugs, and she was able to calculate, lure him, and then once she got him where she wanted him, she then began to torture him for 3 days. If left untreated, you can become unstable and chaotic, and it can lead to death of you or someone that you love. That is very serious, and that's just one of them. She also exhibits several more. I can go down the list. Several Also with her issue with the white men. It stated in that particular article that she had been harmed by different white men. So she's dealing with some type of trauma. She does exhibit some trace of post-traumatic stress as well, because she believes, because of that pain and hurt, that all white men are trash, she said. So she took him to the trash because they're trash. You have anything to add, Anti?
Um, um, just the mention of going a little bit further. I think you discussed some of it: the lack of remorse, manipulative behavior, her sadistic tendencies for extreme violence and prolonged torture inflicted on nearly indicates sadistic tendencies. Um, Simpson not only inflicted physical pain but also made her victim watch his own torture,
Mm-hmm.
and that is which indicates or suggests a desire to exert power and control over her victim.
Right. I
Um,
agree. And so the system failed her in several ways. Now the article stated she had issues with her family, so it was a lot of abuse and probably drug abuse as well. As a child, she witnessed, and so because of the abuse, her parents, or if she was in a single parent household, I didn't find any evidence to say whether she was in a single parent household or had both parents. Her parent failed her.
well, from what I read, that she was originally from a single mother home, and then she was adopted. Is
Oh,
what I read
okay.
somewhere. So, I don't know.
So maybe she exhibited being abused or assaulted or hurt by a white male in her adoptive household. Somewhere down the line, she was either sexually assaulted or abused by a white man in some type of way that wronged her. Or I'm not sure if she's considered African American. She may be biracial. And that may be attributed if she came from a single parent home, maybe why she has some type of hatred for a white male. If some of the women and men are married, the kids may not want to be around them if they are bad influence. Yeah, I agree. I agree. If they are a bad influence, I do agree. Um, but this is just really, really tough. Diving into her, I just really want to know what is her background. So I'm definitely going to dig because I don't like to be defeated. And it was really hard getting this little information and just not knowing. It's like she came on the scene, she was getting in trouble a little bit for prostitution and all of that, and then she goes to jail for armed robbery. But you really don't know anything else about her prior to that. And she stated that she's killed multiple other people. She wouldn't say how many, so them families don't have closure. And if she dismembered bodies like that, these men probably have never um, been caught. So I'm about to look at white male victims in Phoenix around 2007 and around that time that meets her MO and see what we find. And I guarantee you it was more unsolved crimes that they have not see there's cold cases in Phoenix, a lot of cold cases. Wow.
So apparently, her case inspired a fictional characters in popular media. Have anybody seen the TV series Killing Eve?
What is
It
called?
was Killing Eve. It said it was partly inspired by Simpson's remorseless and violent nature.
I ain't never seen. I'm gonna have to take a look at that. You know, I love to watch me some good movies. Brittany says, and Brittany, thank you so much for graciously joining us as well. Do y'all think that some of the people that is in prison when they get out, do y'all think that they can change their ways, but they have to want to change? Um,
Her,
Good question.
no. Her
Go ahead, Anti.
people that are like her, no, I don't believe that they can change.
Do
Did
you
you
mean
hear me?
do you mean a specific person, Brittany, or just someone in jail, generally in jail, or do you mean someone that has murdered someone like her? Phoenix area murder status. Most victims were young. And these are white guys. Phoenix needs to go and open up their cold cases. They need to open up their cold cases. In 2007, there were 40 homicides. Wow. I ain't know Phoenix got half them issues. See, you learn something by just researching. I'm telling y'all, it's out there. But all you got to do is just type it in. See there? Yeah. It was a couple of cases that somebody named Patrick Beerup, he was convicted for some murders, but he looked like he had a little drug issue too. So it's some crimes that I bet you she had some indirect help with in some of these guys. And yeah, you got to look deep into these cases. So detectives out there in Phoenix, Arizona, y'all need to open up some of these cold cases, match her MO, see do she know these people, or they was maybe one of her sex clients, because y'all seem to have a high cold case rate out here in Phoenix with these white males. And it needs to be looked into, honey, because it's giving very much a hot mess is what it is. But yeah, it's a call. It's some mutilated gay guy was killed in 2007. They still have not found his killer or all of his body. Oh yeah, so I will be digging deeper into Mrs. Angela's past cross-checking cases, because I'm gonna be calling that Crime Stopper number to give me a look. I'm gonna be calling the little Crime Stopper number to give me some little cash, because I'm telling you, these cases, anybody dismembered, left burnt, or whatever, they need to cross-reference her case, especially if they were tortured for a number during their autopsy. They can determine that they were tortured, or if the crime seemed to be very heinous. They need to check all cold cases. Anti, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just that I don't know if you mentioned that, I might not have heard you, but it wasn't just it said it was something that I read that she didn't not only not like snitches, but she did not like pedophiles, and she wished she had would have been able to kill more.
Yes, she did say that she doesn't like pedophiles. Cops and snitches are her top three. She cannot deal with. They need to be killed immediately. They are bottom scum, but murderers should not be on the list. They are okay. The people that is murdered, you should take a look at the people that's murdered, not the man, not the person that killed them, which is crazy logic, but you know. Brittany said maybe their childhood, they had childhood drama as a child and as an adult. Trauma can happen as a child and as an adult. And trauma can cause you to act irrationally. However, this type of calculated crime where she has hurt him for 3 days, mutilating him, that type of is not normal mental health. She's clearly suffering from a severe psychological issue. Hello, Jasmine. How are you, love? She is suffering from, it's quite a bit of serious psychological diagnosis that we can come up with. And then to go back and look at Phoenix's crime rate, Phoenix is suffering from a lot of cold cases that matches Angela Simpson's MO of brutally attacking them. Also, 3 days of torture or however many days, trauma to the body before death. So these detectives got to get on their job and they got to really investigate this. And because the first thing in investigation, they need to get an FBI profile on her. I don't know. I didn't read anywhere where they got an FBI profile on her, but they need to get a FBI profile on her. They also need to match up the resemblances of her MO. And a lot of these cases, just by briefly reading, matches her MO of these cold cases of these dismembered bodies. Like this gay white male was dismembered. They still haven't found all of his body, so it may have been burnt, trashed, or the animals has got him. This happened in 2007. And if I went back a little further, I just did from 2007 to 2009. Go back a little further, maybe 10 years ahead, may find even more cold cases that matches her MO. Because she openly admitted that she's killed more and tortured more, but she would not tell them how many. I'm blessed, Miss Jasmine. I'm feeling much better from my allergic reaction. And I just came on here to dive more into Angela Simpson, talk about the little past that we could talk about. Also, dive into what she may be dealing with. But you heard also the correction officer say that, well, no, it was the TV guy, that she's very calm and she sits and draws her little pictures, her very derogatory pictures, and then act as if she didn't know that they can be offensive. But she's very, very calculated as well.
Yes, and to answer Brittany's question, the psychopathy, sadistic tendencies, manipulative behavior, calm and collected demeanor, history of mental health and substance use, and the influence of paranoia is all the psychological profile of Angela's symptoms that has been analyzed by various experts, revealing several key traits and factors that contributed to her violent behavior.
Right. Brittany asks us, why do you think that most of the Black people are missing and people that are unalived, and why any race most of the cases are not being solved? Well, first of all, Brittany, when you already, crime rate is up. Let me first start by saying that. Murders, high violent crimes, all of that are up. And because most departments have a deficiency in officers as well as detectives, you may have 2 or 3 homicide detectives. They're already overworked. Also, if they don't have the funding available for them to work on cold cases, in order to be granted time to work on cold cases, your other caseload has to be down, right? And so if your other caseload is not down, it's hard to grant the time to work on cold cases. And you also have to have it within the budget, because you're going to have to have man hours to go back out and re-interview witnesses. You may find another piece of evidence that was overlooked in their file that you want to send back off to the lab. That has to be in the budget. And if that particular budget year, they haven't allowed any money for cold cases, them cold cases not going to get worked. Especially if it's a department with the manpower is already lacking. Hello, Lolita. So that's why. Another thing is, it takes a strong-willed person to work on cold cases, because you almost have to, well, not almost, you have to rework that case like it has never been worked before in order to find the smallest detail. A lot of the witnesses may not be around anymore. Some of them may be deceased or whatever the case might be. If the old dwelling that it happened is broken or has been torn down, or someone lives there, it's hard to go back and rework that crime scene. So it's a lot of factors that go into working a cold case. But when you start off working a cold case, you want to make sure you check the MO of murderers that you already have in custody. I guarantee you, if they go and offer her something that she likes, she loves to be in front of the camera, she'll probably give them a few names of people that she's murdered. Now remember, she has no desire to be out, because she says all of her family is in there but her children. And because there's no information found on her 4 children, that means they have disassociated themselves with her. But because they didn't find any children or anything around when she was killing Mr. Terry, she may have not had a close relationship with them. And it's hard to have a relationship with them when she was on drugs as well. So interviewing her, getting her to tell. Now, that's not going to happen with a police officer. Remember, her distrust for police officers is on a high echelon. They need to, first of all, get in my opinion, of analyzing her case. I will get an African American to go in and interview her. Because when a white male interviews her, she seems to be very boisterous, very sarcastic. So I will get someone that she's built up a rapport with. I will have them going into the jail quite a few times to build her trust. But it has to be someone that she doesn't deem as a threat. And white men, they're not going to get too much information out of her. So I would get someone that she can build a rapport with and trust, and she will probably spill her guts. Anyone else with any questions? Welcome, you guys that's coming in. We were diving more into Angela Simpson. We went over the autopsy report of Mr. Terry. We talked about how they end up catching her. She was already in jail on an armed robbery charge. That's how she got the additional 14 years. She is suffering from a very, very serious mental illness. She has a SMI on several ones that I can name. The one that sticks out the most is borderline personality disorder. She also exhibited OCD with how she likes to keep her prison cell so clean, the repetitive behavior as well. With the repetitive behavior as well. And so, do you guys have any more questions? Answer, do you have anything else you want to add?
Nope, I think you summed it up. I seen all that with the psychopathy, obsessive compulsive disorder. So yeah, it's just it leaves me. We talked about this earlier, really questioning because they say that there is a history of mental health, but you would think it would be more in the case files and stuff, documented more about her mental health issues. I mean, I know they can't violate HIPAA, but like I was even questioning, um, talking to you, why the court systems didn't have her tested to even see if she was mentally competent to stand trial.
That was her job of her public defender to bring in a psychologist or therapist to interview her. Her defense seems to have did little to nothing. She probably wouldn't respond to him or give him anything to work on from the beginning. Remember, she gave her statement. She admitted it when they interviewed her. She was eating a candy bar and laughed about it. So if she has those correctional officers with a gun scared of her, she probably scared the hell out of the poor public defender. The public defender probably was like, hell, get somebody else to do it. Get somebody else to do it. Because she stares them down. Y'all
Yeah,
see
but at
how
the
she was
same
looking.
time, it doesn't. I get what you're saying, and the public defender failed her, but at the same time, the court systems fail her as well, because it's their responsibility as well to assess. Like, I understand the heinousness of her crime, but that lady literally was not mentally competent to stand trial.
No, she was not. But look at it. The criminal justice system. I gotta be straight up. Criminal justice system was very biased, especially during that time. This is a African American woman that has killed a Caucasian man. So going into the system, she had her eyes stacked up against her for being dark pigmented, being on drugs, and she kills a white man. So she already went in with a lot of prejudice. So they wasn't gonna help her. They failed her, absolutely. But they wasn't going to attempt to help her because of A, her crime, and B, the color of her skin. We gotta keep it real. The criminal justice system needs to be reformed. And especially during that time in the early 2000s, oh no. No. Now things have gotten a little better, but they can be much better when it comes to dark colored African American people, and the justice system has failed a lot of them. Brittany says, whoever unalived Jonay Ramsey while they aren't trying to solve the case. Some people think that her brother did it. The case was crazy. She was so pretty too. Panel and chat. Okay, my thing on JonBenet Ramsey. First of all, this is just my opinion. They were forcing this little girl to grow up way too fast. My daughter is 7 years old. Absolutely under no certain terms will she have on all of this makeup that this baby was having on. The way that she was dressing was very inappropriate for her age. It is something that most definitely happened. I too believe it was someone in the family that harmed this baby, and they were forcing her to grow up too fast. I do believe it was some sexual abuse going on that was being covered up as well. And it just was not okay. Definitely the family, the secrets is withheld in the family, and until someone decides that they can no longer hold on to the secret, I don't think her case will ever be solved.
I would have to agree with you. That has always been my opinion. That it was somebody in the family that done something to JonBenet Ramsey, and they're covering it up.
Yes, I think that she was definitely justice was definitely not served. Yes, very inappropriate for her age. The way they dressed her, she had on more makeup than most grown women wear. And you have to allow a child to be a child. You have to, and even if it was for a pageant, let's just say they love to be in the pageants, that's okay. But this little girl was dressed like that all the time, even when she wasn't at her pageants. And so we have to allow our babies to grow up eventually. But I think it's very inappropriate for especially these babies to be having on these little bitty clothes. I absolutely don't play that. And dress very, provocative. Like that has to start with parenting. You don't buy it, they ain't got no job. How they gonna get it? Now, all little girls play in makeup. My daughter loves to go find some of my makeup and play in it. But she absolutely are not going outside with it. So we have to make sure as parents we're doing what we need to do. And how someone is going to come into your home and harm your child, and there's no evidence of someone coming in from the outside. So it appears that it happened from the inside, and don't nobody know what happened. Nah, no. So we have to just make sure that we take care of our babies, and that wouldn't occur. But it definitely is someone in the family. I do believe it is someone in the family. Mm-hmm. Just like speaking of murders, do you think that the parents to do something wrong? Yeah, something fishy about the houses. I believe that the parents know that it was probably. I believe that it was probably the brother as well. I do believe that the brother was sexually assaulting her, and they was covering up. That goes back to our show Family Secrets, The Untold Truth. JonBenet Ramsey case could have definitely be brought up because I believe to keep from getting the brother in trouble and him going down for first-degree murder and sexual assault. Because remember, they found that at her young age, she had been penetrated. See, they don't talk about that, but they found out that she had been penetrated, sexually assaulted or someone was having regular intercourse with her at her young age. So I believe that the brother was sexually assaulting her and the parents covered it up, and that's something they're going to have to live with. Now, I haven't checked into the case. I don't know if the parents are still living, but I believe that it was the brother as well. And if no one that was in the household is going to speak up, all of the evidence leads to someone came in the house. There was no foot tracks from the window. The story that they gave was refuted by the crime scene investigators. So what's next? Because it was refuted. But yeah, it's several different. In the case of O.J. Simpson, I also believe that O.J. did snap, and he killed Nicole and what is his name? Last name Goldman. I do believe.
Goldman.
Yeah, I do believe that he did also do that. He's no longer with us now, but I do believe he snapped, and I do believe he unalived them. The detectives and the crime scene investigators failed her and her family with the way they handled the evidence, particularly the glove. And so that's how he was able to get off. But I do believe that he did do some jail time. It may not have been for murder, but he did go ahead and do some jail time. He served nearly 9 years. So it did come back. They claim he did armed robbery, but they really was getting him back for that case. Because how you get convicted of trying to get your own stuff back, your memorabilia, is unbeknownst to me. But they gave him some very hard jail time for that. They sentenced him to a very lengthy sentence for that. So that was kind of on the back end of, hey, you did this, we couldn't get you then, but we gonna get you now. So yes, I do also believe that, yeah, he murdered him. Yeah, the high-speed chase with the Bronco, he was trying to get himself together. I really believe his friends helped him, and I really believe that he did it. I really believe he did it. But he, snapped. He had a moment of rage. The daughter speaks about some of his anger issues as well. And so, that's how it is. But he died in Las Vegas of cancer, I think, about 2 years ago? But he frequent here in Louisiana. So I believe he's from Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. But he frequent here in Shreveport. I seen him. He was here at the Laughing Out Loud Comedy Club. Really cool guy. When you talk to him, very well spoken. He was very well spoken. Wasn't no dummy by no means. But I do believe he did that. I do believe he did that. Mm-hmm. Sure did. And a lot of crimes that is unsolved, where people don't know what has happened. What'd you say, Anton?
I didn't say anything. I was listening to you.
Oh, I thought you had said something. But also, y'all remember Michelle Blair? They called her the freezer mom. it's a lot of stuff we can indulge into on killers. Like I said, my first love was criminal justice, researching them. I did a lot of term papers on these killers. Y'all look up the story of her. That's another one that'll be. She was deemed the freezer mom because y'all know she stuffed her kids in bags and killed them, stuffed their body in bags, and put them in the freezer. So, in her interview, she speak. Let me show y'all her, just in case y'all ain't seen it. Let me indulge y'all. I did a term paper on her as well, because as I stated, I have my associates in criminal justice. I did that to get extra money, because if you have a degree and you're on the force, you get paid more money, you get more incentives during the year. Then I went on to get my bachelor's in criminal justice and human services. But then once I start getting my graduates, I start switching over to psychology. But those two are in criminal justice, and these cases used to intrigue me because I used to have to do my term papers on some of them, and I wanted the hardest ones. So we're gonna delve into Miss Blair, and she's called the freezer mom, just in case you guys don't know, and she's going to talk about her crimes and what she did. Now, I'm gonna warn you guys, this may be triggering to some of you guys. This is about a woman that unalived her children, very sick. She could have gave those babies away, but she had to be suffering from some type of mental episode as well. So if you are sensitive to topics related to children, please exit. Okay. Let me share.
The type of abuse that you had to suffer as a kid?
You mean sexual abuse?
If that's what happened?
That definitely did happen to me. That's why I know exactly how would have grew up. I told my mother what happened to me, and the only thing she said was, "It's over with, so what the you want me to do about it?" What do you mean what I want you to do? You get what I'm saying? So all I could do is go back and sit in my room and just sit there and look stupid. I'm a kid, and I'm just telling you what happened to me. You didn't do about it. And plus, I still had to see the person coming in and out my house. You still friends with that person.
So do you believe that the violent person you went on to become you were a product of your own childhood?
I mean, everybody have choices, so I can't just blame all that on my mom, because I was still an adult. Maybe I should have tried hard to get over that. But anybody who knows me, that touching the kids, the molesting, that no. If that's one thing I definitely would have killed over, it would have always been that. It's like I grew up I even tried to talk to my mom when I got in my mid-20s. She had strokes and things like that. And I'm like, Mom, she could barely talk. You could barely talk. She had so many strokes. And I'm telling you what my problem was always with you. The hitting and all that. I just asked you to do something. The person lives around the corner on this particular time, it was just a woman named. She lived around the corner. She want to walk around like she big and bad all day. My mama, you big and bad. Everybody's scared of you. But when I come to you with some real and I tell you what happened to me, you didn't walk your around that corner and do to that woman like a coward. So no. And this is why I say my kids knew better, because I've always told them everything that happened to me. I told them why, because I don't understand why it took me so long to tell my mom when I was a kid. You never talked to me about like this, but when I did come to you, you didn't do. So I always made sure I told my kids this. I told them what happened to me, how it happened to me, how the made me feel in detail. And I say, if anybody ever touches y'all, you better tell me. They knew. I always talk to my kids about that touching from anybody. So they definitely knew. And this is the part that really gets me. I used to tell her, rape is the worst thing you can do. Just make it. I tell her all the time. They used to make me feel like I was nothing. It made me feel like I wasn't. You turn around and you do that to my son, you knew exactly what she was doing to him. She knew exactly what the fuck she was doing to him. So yeah, I don't care what anybody think. She had to go, period. So I damn sure wasn't about to let grow up mad as hell all the damn time, can't trust nobody. When it was just as simple as, you're my mother, do something. Didn't call the police, didn't do, just said it's over with now. What the you want me to do about it? That's my response. So yeah, that's the problem. And this is what can happen to a kid when like that goes. That wasn't happening to my son, period. So when I say he got closure, he got it. I know exactly what he was feeling. Even when my son was talking to me about some of the stuff, he would go like this to his face. And he was like, Mom, and it felt so nasty. And that right there, I knew exactly what he was doing. I knew how he was feeling because that's how I used to feel. When he did that, I knew it. There ain't no amount of talking. It was, no. So when you tell me she's a 13-year-old child, okay. Some of the most heinous crimes in this world has been by kids. So I don't want to hear that. That's my family. I don't give a damn what America thinks. But I also want to tell America they can kiss my ass. Don't throw no stones, because they got a whole lot coming their way too. They just feel more comfortable for them to be able to say, well, my sin is not as bad as yours. At least I didn't kill my kids. That in God's eyes, we all down here. That's period.
Okay.
But I love and I love and I'm always love him. That's my son.
All righty. This is why she killed him. Hold on, let me find why she killed them. Hold on, yeah. Court. Okay, so from what I got from this interview, she was saying the 13-year-old that she also killed was doing had did some sexual assault to her son. And so she had told them that she don't absolutely, because she was sexually assaulted and her mom did nothing. It bothered her. And so she killed the 13-year-old for doing that to her son. And because she didn't want her son to grow up and feel the way that she feels, she put him what she think is at peace by unaliving him as well. Wow. She killed them and she stored their bodies in the home freezer. So, yeah. And she pled guilty. And she talks about that. But yeah, that's her name. If you guys want to go look it up. But this is her. But that goes to show you how unhealed trauma she was. Okay, here go another one, y'all. This one is deep. This one is really deep. And I feel really, she was a hurt child. You can still hear it. She's a grown woman. And you can still hear the rage, the anger, the resentment for her mom for not protecting her. You can still hear the frustration, all of that in her voice of how hurt and in pain she's in. You know what I'm saying? She's like, like really upset, y'all. It's really, really tragic. It's really, really tragic. Let me share it. It's really, really tragic. Her mom, in this case, we talked about who failed who. Her mom failed her. Now, this is graphic again. If you can't see anything about children, please stop.
In the eyes of God.
These are the two
in your
babies.
eyes, I'm asking you, not in the eyes of God. In your eyes, do you feel like you did what you had to do? I didn't have to do that. It was wrong. Look, I don't want to say yes, but my son told me I saved him.
On the morning of March 24th, 2015, officials from the Wayne County Sheriff's Department arrive at Martin Luther King Apartments on the west side of Detroit. They are there to enforce the court-ordered eviction of 35-year-old Michelle Angela Blair. When they knock on her door, authorities are struck by Blair's strange behavior. Suspicious, they enter, but they're shocked and appalled at what they find inside. Authorities locate the bodies of 2 children stuffed into a deep freezer in Blair's home. The children are later identified as Blair's 13-year-old daughter, Stoney Ann Blair, and 9-year-old son, Stephen Gage Berry. After just a few hours, Blair is taken into custody and questioned by investigators. Her surviving children are put in protective custody.
I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, if you don't mind, okay? Can I ask one? Sure. All right, my kid's still here. You know what? I can't ask that right now. But I can find out. As soon as we're done, I'll make sure you know all that information, okay? I just really want to tell my aunt her face, because I created a big distance between her and she honestly never did anything but love us. And I created that distance with her so I can hide it. You get what I'm saying? So she thinks that I'm mad at her and don't love her. I'll make sure you get, not the case. You just want to make things right. I just want her to know that for her. Okay. Because she loves me so much, she don't have kids. Okay. And to do that to her, and I remember her face. Okay. Let me, I got to take care of this first, okay? And then you could tell me anything you want to take, but I got some administrative things that I got to let you know about, like your constitutional rights. Before you say anything to me, you have rights, and I'm going to read these to you. Okay? I already know that. Come on, I'm good.
After Blair confirms that she understands her rights, Officer Diaz questions Blair about her personal life. Blair shares that she's a Detroit native with a 10th grade education. Her nickname is Angel, and she's lived in the apartment where her children's bodies were discovered for the last 9 years. She shows Officer Diaz several of her tattoos, including one with her children's names.
Do you know if my kids' names were released on the news yet? Ma'am, I've been in here, so I think the dad knows. Yeah, and I was trying to keep it. I gave them the number and everything. To who? To their dad. To his dad, you know. Where are your other 2 kids, Stoney and Stephen? At my house. At the old house. When you say my house, what do you mean? At the old house, yes. Where in your house are they? Freezer. Who put them in there?
Within the first hour of the interrogation, Blair admits to placing her 2 children's bodies in the freezer at her home. The detective wants to know why.
Why did you do that? Because they were. Along with the other thing. When you say they, who are you referring to?
Are you tired of your YouTube channel not getting the attention it deserves? Building a YouTube channel can be a very lucrative and successful.
Not molesting. We literally having sex with them. And what else did you say? Just the little things that they did down. I know, but I missed something that you said that they were literally having sex with them, you said? Yes. You said not molesting? Not molesting, literally. You said not molesting? Not molesting, because molesting is just touching. Like if it wasn't molesting, they were flat out. Yeah.
The children's names and other confidential details are redacted from the audio to protect their privacy.
But they have been going on for years. Since they were in diapers. How did you become aware that he was getting? Oh, I came home one day. It was basically saying, "Come look what I'm doing." He wasn't doing it, but I told him I went in the living room. But she said, "Show Mom what you was doing." How did you become aware of it?
Came home, they rushed to the front door and was like, Mom.
When was this?
This was a while ago. This incident didn't just happen.
When you say a while ago, was it a year, 2 years, a month?
Around there.
Around where?
Year or two.
Blair tells Officer Diaz her children's bodies have been in the freezer for years. It's 2015 at the time of the interrogation. According to court testimony, Blair first killed one of her children in 2012.
So you came home about 2 years ago?
He's saying, look what he's doing. So I told him to show me what he was doing, and I asked him why he was making the dolls for each other. And I asked him, did somebody do that to you? And he said no at first. And he said, yes. And he put his head down, so I looked at him. And I just asked him who the f*** you know what I mean?
So he was playing with 2 dolls?
No, his little wrestle, the little wrestle figures. His, how boys play with their toys.
And he was making them.
It's real sad, child. Real sad.
Nah, I don't know why he acted it out like that. It's just, I don't want nobody to think that anything's wrong with my son. You get what I'm saying? Because there's nothing wrong.
No, nobody's making any judgments. I just want you to tell me what happened. Nobody's passing any judgments.
I know, because to read it, when they read, they're not going to understand.
No, listen. That's why I want to record exactly what you tell me, okay? So nobody's just passing any judgment on your son or on you or anybody, okay? We just want to know what happened, okay? So just feel comfortable telling me what happened. I want you to make nothing up or think about how it's going to look. I just want you to tell me so we can help you, okay? And we can help your son if he needs it.
So I went upstairs with and I asked him, would you on your brother? On your brother? Would you on your brother? And
so you asked somebody did that to him?
Yes. So I'm like, why are you playing like that? I told him that's nasty as hell. Why are you playing with that? I said, did somebody do that to you first? He said no. And he had his head on and he said yes. And so I asked him who, and he said, I just went straight upstairs with him, well, all 3 of us. And I'm asking, and he said, no, he's lying. Like, no, I'm not. So I'm looking at the both of them. And I said, what? Because my understanding was, you got to understand, I was a lot younger than she was, like, over a year ago. And he had to be quiet about all this time. So when he's telling me, he's getting loud. He's like, yes, he did. Yes, he really did this to you. Why didn't you tell me? Because they said they was going to kill me and beat me up. I told him to tell me the truth before I beat the hell out of him. And he says, well, I told him, but that's it. And then he said, no, it's not. And I said, did you ever pull his underwear down? Did you pull his underwear down? Said, no. He's like, yes, you did. I just remember walking out the room. No, I mean, I remember everything else. I'm just saying, it's like, I couldn't say I wasn't like out of my mind. You understand?
When do you think this was?
Roughly 2 years ago.
So you go upstairs, you confront your other son, and he says, no, I didn't do it.
Yeah, he's like, no, I didn't.
So what did you do? What did you do at that point?
I sat on the floor for a while by the edge of the door, and I just remember I kept going, what the But they did this to him every day, every night.
What did you do after that? Did you take any physical action towards?
Not just yet. And then I just closed the door. I got them telling me everything. I went back upstairs. And I opened the door because I fully believed him. And I know that's what he had did. He told me things that after finding out, now it makes sense. You get what I'm saying? It's like certain things I'm like, what's wrong? Or he crying, or he fell off the bunk bed, and I'm fussing at him, take toys away from him. It's like he didn't even do. They would push him out it just totally
Okay. So I asked you if you took any physical actions towards said, not just yet. You took downstairs. He told you more stuff.
Yes. And when I went back upstairs, after I heard, I could.
What did you do when you went back upstairs?
I punched him. I just kept punching him.
Punching?
Yes.
Blair admits to physically abusing one of her sons. His name is redacted from the audio, but based on trial testimony and news articles, it seems that Blair is talking about her 9-year-old son, Stephen, who she killed in 2012.
How long been in the freezer?
2 years. I want to say 2 years.
You said almost 2 years or 2 years?
I want to say 2 years.
It can be difficult to determine which child Blair is referring to due to the redacted audio. It's helpful to pay attention to the pronouns she uses to decipher whether she's talking about her son Stephen or her daughter Stoney.
How long have you been in the freezer?
About a year. She died on May 25th. August 30th.
You said about 1 year?
Yes.
She died when?
On May 25th.
Of what year? Last year?
It would have to be. I'm just a blur.
When?
August 30th.
What day was that, ma'am?
August 30th.
Of what year?
2012.
According to a document from the Michigan Department of Corrections, August 30th, 2012 and May 25th of 2013 match the dates of offense for Blair's homicide charges.
Ever wondered why you should get an LLC with a third party when you can do it all by yourself? Yeah, of course. Those companies want to make a profit, and this is the
I can't, I was holding him when he died.
Everybody that's just joining, this is the police.
You say holding. How were you holding?
From the mom's mouth.
What caused him to die? I didn't ask you what you were doing. I asked you, how did your son?
I don't know. What I'm saying is he died from what I inflicted on him, but it wasn't, he didn't die right then. You get what I'm saying?
Well, you say you afflicted on him. What did you afflict?
I was punching him.
So you say you don't know what caused him to die?
No, I know I did. What I'm saying is, I don't know specifically what was going on in his body. You get what I'm saying? He died from his injuries. I can honestly say I did not mean to kill out of him. And I talked to him in the morning.
You say you beat the hell out of him?
Yeah.
Now, I hear what you're saying, but you still haven't, I asked you the question, how did your son die? Okay, so you did something. I need you to tell me specifically what it was. So you just punched him?
Like just punching him to keep him out. Yeah.
You said punch him? What exactly did you do?
Like, where did I punch him?
What did you do? You punched him?
Basically everywhere. I choked him.
With your hands?
Yes. That's not how he died. I punched him.
You're missing out the evil part, because you're telling me something.
Because you don't know how I'm punching him.
Okay.
But I punch him and I'm talking to him.
Other than punching him and choking him, did you do anything else?
Yes.
What did you do?
He was telling me how he used to kick him, and
You kicked him?
no, he was telling me how matter of fact, yes, actually I did. Like bathtub, right? Hot water.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like this. I stood him in there.
In the hot water?
Yeah.
No,
He got right back out.
Did you run the hot water first and then dump him?
What do you mean?
How?
I grabbed him in the bathroom and I was still talking to him. And then I'm asking him, like, why are you drinking sex? I hate him. And it's okay. We're just talking about, and I got the hot water on. And I'm still talking to him, but it's like I'm threatening him.
As a creative consultant, client relationships are key to actually growing my business.
I didn't plan on doing it, but I did it. It's like, I can't explain it to you.
So you turned the hot water in the bathroom, in the bathtub?
Yes. And if you don't tell me everything, and tell me exactly why, just everything, like what you've been doing.
Did you put him in the bathtub?
I stood him up in there.
You stood him up in there?
Yeah. So his feet got really messed up. You know, your soft layer of your skin on your feet. It bubbled up.
Then what did you do?
He came back out. Just going like this. And he was talking. So I sit in the toilet and I listened to him. It's like,
what else did you do?
It was basically a rotation of that, punching him, just hurting him. He was skinny.
How long did that go for?
In total, after I found out, he was in there 4 or 5 days. And I made him stay in his room. I took him food because I didn't know what to do. So I called my aunt first to see, but I ended up, I guess, checking out and I didn't tell her. She knew nothing of what was going on. And then I actually called the police.
Blair tells the investigator that although she called the police, she never reported the alleged sexual abuse for fear that her parenting would be called into question and her children taken away.
So you. All right, I am going to pause it for y'all that's coming in. She killed 2 of her children. Apparently, one of them had told her that they were being sexually assaulted by the older one, and she decided to punish one of them by beating him. And from what I heard her just tell the detective, she also scalded him by running some hot water in the tub, and his feet start bubbling, which means she burnt this baby. So this baby died of a very gruesome death, very painful death of the hands of his mother. She said he didn't die right then, which he probably died a little bit after that of internal injuries, internal bleeding. And so she, anti-violence, say she was given 2 life sentences plus more time for assaulting a prison employee. She said she wasn't trying to kill him, but then later in interviews, she said she will kill them again. So either you're sorry or you're not, but she said in later interviews that she would do it again. This is the full interview of what she stated that she did and the whys, but she doesn't have any remorse for doing it. She says she would do it again because they know the touching from what was done to her, that is unacceptable. In the beginning appeared she has a girlfriend, and she was concerned that the girlfriend know that she did love her and she didn't mean to hurt her. Do anybody have any questions before I press play again. This is very gruesome. This is a story. They nicknamed her the freezer mom. This mom brutally murdered her kids and put them in the freezer. Before the police found them, they had been in the freezer for 2 years. So this is very gruesome. If you have a trigger of hearing about kids being unalived, you probably don't want to listen at this. We talked about Angela Simpson. She was the woman from Phoenix, Arizona. I call her a serial killer because she has killed other people that the police have not found out. But she tortured a man for 3 days. A disabled man at that, and she stabbed him 50 times, dismembered his body, and placed him in a trash can of a church. She admitted to other crimes, but she will not give them any information on how many people she has actually killed. So we have went over some gruesome cases. We also talked about John Benet Ramsey for all of y'all that coming in. Hello, that one. Hello, Cree, it's me. So this story is about a lady that has killed. Her name is in the comments if you guys want to look her up. Michelle Blair, I think that's how they pronounce her name. It is very, very hard wrenching what she did to her own children. She scalded the babies. One of the boys, she scalded him, she beat him, and you know his little body with an adult punching him with full force. I'm almost sure that she say he didn't die right then. He probably died after from internal lacerations to his spleen, or because she said she was punching him and kicking him everywhere. So anybody have any questions before I press play again? This is her full interview of telling the detectives what happened. She's too calm for me to be telling the details of how she unalived her son. You know, it's just too calm for me. So it doesn't shock me that in later interviews, she then said that she will kill them again. It doesn't shock me. Yes, Miss Jasmine, it is. People are beyond sick. This particular mom should have gave those babies away, got them some help. If she did no longer want to be a mother, instead of beating him profusely, she needed to get him some help, some counseling, remove him around the other children, something, instead of harming him. All right, y'all, let's dive right into it. If you have any questions, put it in the chat.
You do all this, right? You sent him to his room, and you said you called the police at some time?
Yeah, but I didn't tell them. What I called was like I'm asking a general question.
After he went to his room, what do you do?
What do you mean?
He goes to his room, and then you said, what did you say about, you said it took him 5 days before he passed?
Yeah, it wasn't like he wasn't walking around like just really tore up. The last time that I heard him, he was calling the next morning. So I know that's what did it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I was even doing this to him.
But I asked you how long after that incident does Stephen die? Was how long? Okay, so you beat him up the one day, right? And then 5 days go by, you beat him up again?
No, because it's mixing. The hot water was the night before, the afternoon before.
Mm-hmm.
I was around 1 something in the afternoon.
He says, no, I didn't do it. Then you go back upstairs and you do all these things to him. You punch him, you choke him, you put him in the hot water, and then for 5 days, you ground him.
No, the hot water came the night before. You get what I'm saying?
No, that's what I'm trying to, you walk me through.
Okay, when I very first found out, there was no hot water until the end. Hot water was big before he died.
Okay.
So at first, all this is just punching.
Okay. I'm trying to get a timeline here, because you do these things to him, right? How long do you do these things? You assault him, you put him in the water. How many days go by before he dies?
I want to say no more than a week.
Managing your employee's schedule doesn't have to feel like trying to solve a mystery.
That's
With Connect
it.
Team,
It
you can
goes
easily
by a
plan,
week.
distribute,
She
and manage your
burned
team's
up,
schedule
so
by
he had
time,
to
location,
reburn,
customer,
so he
or
might
the
have developed
So
a
far,
fever.
Blair has confessed to punching, kicking, and scalding her son with hot water in a bathtub. It's still not clear to Officer Diaz how long the boy was left in his room or what was happening to him during that time. Blair also confesses to drinking leading up to her son's death.
So you said the first day you punched him several times. The second day you didn't touch him.
No.
But the third?
The second day I was like throwing up and was really, I had been drinking vodka, like from the first day period, and I basically couldn't get up.
You say you was throwing up?
It's like when I get up, maybe I would have went back in there, but.
Did you say you were throwing up?
Yeah, the only reason I didn't go, honestly, only reason I didn't go back in there the second day, because every time I got up, I'm throwing up, and I'm sick, and
But then the third, the fourth, and the fifth day, you continue. The following days, you continue to assault them. Is that correct?
Drinking. Yeah, and it was like, this is how it went, like, I'll talk to him for a second, and he'll say something, and I'll start punching him. And I'll stop, and I'll start talking to him again. And then it's like no answer he gave was, I just went, it's like I just stopped, I talked to him, and
Who witnessed this?
Was downstairs, and she witnessed.
Okay, let me ask you this. At what point do you put Stephen in the freezer?
After he died.
You said after he died?
When I came back in the room, he says, I just throw up.
Say that again?
So when I came back from him, he says I have to throw up. So I walked him to the bathroom. He didn't throw up, and he said I had to poop. He didn't poop.
Then what?
So I just took him back in the room, and he laid back down. And his breathing was sounded weird. It was just, and I put my hand right here on his chest, and his heartbeat was like, it was crazy. I put my ear up to it, and it was like.
You say you felt his heartbeat and it was crazy?
I felt for it, and it wasn't strong enough. Because I know he has a really strong heartbeat. That's what they all do. And when I did like this, I couldn't feel it, and I couldn't find it. So I put my ear, and it was there. But it was like, I couldn't explain it. And I looked at him, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And he's just like, he's going like this.
So he was fading out?
And I tried to do CPR on him.
You tried CPR on him?
I tried.
While he was still alive?
No, when he started looking like that and started doing that.
So did he stop breathing when you tried CPR?
No, he stopped before that.
So he stopped breathing and you tried to do
looking
CPR?
at him, and he's going.
Okay.
So what did you hear it no more? So
Blair describes the murder of her 9-year-old son in graphic detail. The investigator must continue to keep her composure under extremely difficult circumstances.
Did you call for medical assistance?
After he died? No. After I stopped trying to do that, I just said yes to one. I was just looking at him.
Why not? Why didn't you call for somebody?
I was scared.
Blair tells Officer Diaz that after Stephen dies, she pulls his body close to her and holds him. His little body is already beginning to stiffen.
After you finished holding him, what did you do with Stephen's body? You what? Did you do anything? You just put him in the freezer? Did you put some clothes on him? What did you do? You just put him in the freezer as he was?
Well, he had this Paul Frank's blanket that he really like.
Paying your bills on time raises your credit score,
Now
right?
she,
Wrong. In fact, this is one of the 3 major credit score lies you're being told by the big credit.
Supposed to call BMT.
So I just wrapped.
You wrapped him in what kind of blanket?
Paul Frank. You know, the monkey Paul Frank on kids' clothing or.
That was his favorite blanket, Paul Frank?
It's like, you know, it's a name brand, it has the monkeys on it, and it was a big comforter. It's blue and white with monkeys on it. And like I heard he used to argue with them, like, don't touch my blanket, you know what I'm saying? So I just
So the other kids didn't see you do that?
Now that Blair has confessed to Stephen's murder, Officer Diaz wants to know more about what happened to 13-year-old Stoney.
How did Stoney die?
Stoney, I meant to do it.
Excuse me?
With Stoney, I meant to do it. Like with Stephen, I can't even say it was an accident, but it's not. If somebody died from what you do to them, then it's that. But Stoney, I did mean to.
The question on everyone's mind is how could any mother kill her own child, especially with intention? Officer Diaz presses Blair, and she admits to some of the torture she put Stoney through.
What did you do to your daughter, Stoney?
Should I tell you what happened with her before?
No, we're going to get to that. I just need to know what you did to her, and then we're going to get back to what she did. Okay?
So I'll tell you what's leading up.
Well, tell me how you feel more comfortable. If that's how you feel more comfortable, you could tell me like that. But we're going to get to that. I just kind of would rather you answer this question, and then you could tell me what, and then I'm going to ask you what led up to it.
Okay. First, same thing, the very first thing. I punched her so hard. Because she was still doing that after.
Because she was doing what?
She was still doing that to him. I didn't find out.
Doing what to
months
him?
Later, they were both him. And he said he was so scared of Stoney. I'm like, why wouldn't you tell me this? He said, because she kept saying that, don't say nothing. Or she gonna beat me up and all that. Whatever, it's just. So I found out 9 months later that she had been still doing this after Stephen.
When did she leave?
One day they were arguing about something, and they came in the room, and he said, don't sit next to me. I said, stop acting like that to her. It's your sister. He was like, oh, I don't want her to sit next to me. She mean to me anyway. And I said, mean how? He was like, she used to kick me like this. I'm like, so why you never tell me? Then he started saying my diaper. I don't know. I'm like, what do you know? It started off with Stoney. And he ended up telling me Stoney was doing that to Stephen first. See what I'm saying? And I looked at her and I'm like, you sat here. We talked. We all talked to Stephen together. Because they did not only just him. They was taking his food. It sounds petty. They blame things on him. But I fussed at him, but it wasn't him. They take his food. Even at school, Stephen would get up and go grab his food. I'm like, y'all, I get $700 in snaps every month. Y'all eat. This is like you steal. When you see him in the hallway, you take jabs at him. Y'all used to take turns on him.
But you never saw that with your own eye?
Never. That's what I'm saying.
What did tell you that Stoney did specifically?
This is what I'm saying specifically. This is all leading up to it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't find out about them hitting him.
So you want to know where to invest $1,000
So
right now? Well, forget about stocks, crypto, and
this
real estate
happened a while
because
ago,
there's a
Cree.
little-known trend
I
taking the world by
think in
storm as we speak called
2015.
e-farming. E-farming creates online assets that
Don't
have the
quote me on
potential
that, but
to
it did
generate
happen
passive
maybe
income
10
that
years
grows over
ago.
time.
But my question,
killed.
hold on, I'm gonna pause it real quick. She's talking in riddles. You guys pay attention to that. Her memory seems to be in patches. So she's talking in riddles. She meant to hurt the little girl because finds out she thought it was the boy, but it was the girl that actually was doing it. So she says she meant to kill, her name was Stony. She meant to kill Stony. But this is tough. This is really hard for a mother to do.
I found out about Steven, but Stony was after him, and I'm like, it just got me. You was in his house with us, and you still doing that. You're still doing that to him. After I told me I saved him.
But how tell you that she was him?
So far, Blair's allegations against her daughter don't line up with the story she's been telling the investigator. As Officer Diaz presses her, Blair begins to accuse the 13-year-old girl of sexually assaulting her brother.
So at that point, you grabbed Stony by the neck.
I'm holding her like this. She's against the wall, and I'm looking at me, and I said, "Tell me." And the way that he's telling me, it just felt like it to him. To me, it just felt like it felt good to get out, for him to say it, because he's still been getting his ass beat. He's still been getting. Wow.
So you grab her against the neck, against the wall.
And I'm still holding her, and I'm
what do
looking
you
back.
do? Are you choking her at that point?
Oh no, I'm holding her there. No, she can breathe, but I have her in a choke.
So you grab her. She's still breathing because you're asking her questions.
Yeah.
And then what happens? You squeeze tighter where she can't breathe? What do you do?
After he told me that, it was like she just slammed her.
So you grabbed harder?
Not grab. I just got it. I already had a good grip. So I did like this. How you sling somebody down. So I slung her down to the ground.
So you had a good grip around her neck?
Yeah, I wasn't squeezing yet. So after he said what he said, I just threw her down. I kicked her. She got up, was backing up, and I asked her, and this is what got me. She said, "You know Steven?" I said, "What you was Steven?" See, I was gagging for him. This was
You started kicking her, you said?
Yes.
At what point do you kill Stony?
Well, I hit Stony in the head.
With what? What you hit her with?
That's not what killed her though. Had like this little stick.
What was that?
Like a stick.
You hit her with a stick?
Yeah.
What kind of stick?
It's just some it's a wooden piece. You know how certain things go to bed.
Just a wooden stick?
Yeah, but it's thick. You know what I mean? About this long.
The wooden stick Blair is referring to is a heavy, rounded piece of wood that she claims used to be part of a bed frame. She tells Officer Diaz the number of times she hit Stony in the head with the stick is not countable.
So I'm hitting her in her head.
Not
He was a baby.
How big was it? About that big?
About this. It was blue. Not so big. It was where you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So you hit her on the head.
Yes.
And then what?
Just went on for a minute, talking, spilling everything that she's done to him. Went on for a while.
You hit her in the right eye?
It's right here.
What about it?
Because when I came down. you know, but it was just like,
So you in the right eye, in like the right temple here, or was it the eye? Was it the eye or the temple?
No, it wasn't the eye. It was, you know,
like right here. So that would be the temple.
No, right here.
Yeah.
Literally on your eyebrow.
On your eyebrow.
The hard part, you know. If I'm wrong about which eye.
And you saw blood coming out?
Yes.
You saw a lot of blood coming when you struck her?
Like, I'm doing the stream of it. It was like.
So it just like came out?
It's just like a spurt and then it stopped.
So you saw a stream of blood come out?
Yeah, it was like you know. They just put a little, you know.
Again, this is very graphic, y'all.
Like this.
Okay.
Like that.
If you're a new business owner, you need guidance.
Taylor Brands.
Taylor Brands guides you through your business journey.
This makes Taylor.
Blair says after the beating, she gives her daughter a washcloth with ice to put on her eye. Her clothes and skin are covered in blood. Blair sends Stoney to her room, the same as she did with Stephen 9 months prior. Then Blair wipes the blood from her daughter's skin and puts the bloody clothing into the trash. While the 13-year-old is in her room bleeding from her injuries, Blair heads to the basement to drink vodka.
She was up in her room for like 2 days. I wouldn't talk to her. After the first day I found out, and I did what I did.
Okay, so she was up in the rooms for about 2 days, and then what?
Yes. I go in there and give her food. Then I get pissed at myself when I gave her food because y'all was stealing food from him every day. That's why he go to sleep hungry and wake up hungry.
Did you at some point, did you stop giving her food, period?
What you mean?
Did you starve her?
Basically. It went down from 2 times a day to 1, and it was only oatmeal. Oatmeal and water.
Blair tells Officer Diaz that she starved Stoney for about 2 weeks following the beating, though she doesn't believe this is what ultimately killed her daughter. Blair claims Stoney's cause of death was asphyxiation. However, a spokesperson for the medical examiner's office told the LA Times that Stoney died solely from blunt force trauma injuries. The same article reveals that Stephen died from blunt force trauma and thermal injuries.
I said
that because we're gonna get to the bottom of it. Okay,
just flat out tell you what I did.
Once she burnt him, those were probably 3rd-degree burns on her son's feet. He developed a fever, and after his injuries internally, that's how he passed away. But her hitting that baby in the eye. She starved her and then she was still bleeding. I believe she continued to hit that baby. She talking about she just left her. Now I believe she continued to hit her. She's competent, but she's a psychopath. She's definitely a psychopath.
Yeah. Tell me what you did that caused.
But she also hold on, let me pause it. She also was a victim of sexual abuse that went untreated, that made her develop a serious hatred and paranoia for any sexual abuse. It caused her to have this serious anger towards her mother. She felt like her mother failed to protect her. Her mother was this badass in the neighborhood, but her mom wasn't bad and tough when it came down to going to go check. It was a woman that sexually abused her, to go check this woman that had abused her. So I'm not sure is her mom still living, but she said her mom had a few strokes and she was very angry with her mom. And anybody that knows her knows she do not play about sexual abuse. So because of her unhealed trauma, And also she was abusing them way before the sexual abuse stuff came out. So let me make sure I say that she was already abusing them before then. She would lose her temper. She also, alcohol abuse seemed to have been an issue. From the photos, the house was not in very livable conditions for children. So she was just worrying about drinking. And some people, when they drink, they get very violent. So she may have became very violent during some of her drunken slumbers and was very abusive towards them. So her excuse for unaliving the babies was because of the so-called sexual abuse that Stoney was doing to the son. But her story is all over the place because she said she scalded the son and beat him because he's the one that was doing the sexual abuse. But then she say Stoney and the other children was taking his stuff and abusing him. So which one really is it? But it stems from her untreated trauma as a child of being sexually abused.
Yeah. Or tell me what you did that brings you here today.
Smothered.
You smothered her? Yes. Was it that same night? You go to the basement, you drink?
Oh, no. I get like that. No. This was a while later.
Like a day, 2 days later?
No, maybe days, because...
Like how many days?
I don't know.
Okay. So after a few days, is that safe to say?
Yeah.
I want you to walk me through it. So do you go upstairs and just say, you know what, I'm going to smother her, and you just smother her?
No.
Or do you guys have a conversation?
She was laying on the floor.
Where at?
In her room.
Okay.
So I came in and I sat down.
So you go in her room.
Yeah. And I scared her because she was asleep, but I sat down in front of her. So you wake up. She basically wake up and saw my face, and she was like this. And I just kept asking her, are you ready to apologize? And she said, I am sorry for doing that to somebody, period, but I still hate him. And I hit her again.
You hit her?
Yes. Right in here.
With your hand?
Yes, my fist.
Although Blair admits to some physical abuse against her children, multiple news outlets reference an autopsy report and trial testimony that detailed the horrific abuse not mentioned in the interrogation.
Who knew about the bodies in the freezer other than you?
I had to tell the kids. We were the only ones that knew. Until today.
When did you tell the kids?
That night.
Excuse me?
That night.
What night?
Happened with Stoney.
The night you killed Stoney?
Well, she was like, it wasn't that night. I told them that night, but what happened with Stoney was earlier in the day.
But when did you tell the kids?
That night.
The night that what?
The night that I did.
When you say did, you mean Stoney, right?
Yep.
Kill Stoney?
Yes.
Blair is about to make a horrifying confession. Not only does she admit to torturing and killing 2 of her children, she also exposes her surviving children to the horror she carried out.
As an SEO professional, managing client communications used to feel like juggling a million tasks until I found Honeybook. This all-in-one platform streamlined everything.
Hold on, let me pause this real quick. Be mindful, everybody, that not only did she kill her 2 children, she tortured them for days and weeks. They had to witness that and hear that. Imagine these babies living in fear. They probably were scared to death. And then the most egregious thing, she tells them that they siblings are dead in the freezer. So they have to walk around. The police then find out about this until 2 years later when the schools reported I think it said earlier, physical abuse, DCFS came by. They had to walk around for 2 years knowing that their siblings is in the freezer, probably scared to death to say anything wrong, move anything wrong, because they in fear that it could be them next. I hope wherever they at, they are living a healthy lifestyle, and whoever has them babies got them some counseling. Definitely.
You show them? Did you show them the body? Yeah. Not for a while. How long did it take before you showed? Not even a week. What was their reaction? Crying a lot.
Multiple news sources state that court documents reveal how Blair forced her eldest daughter to stack Stoney's body on top of Stephen's. Blair only tells the detective her daughter cried at the sight of her sister's dead body.
She's just crying a lot. You know. It was looking like he didn't say nothing, he was just looking at me. And he started crying. I asked him, why you crying? He said, you're going to be in trouble. What'd he say? You're going to be in trouble.
Blair's youngest son was right. His mother would be in big trouble. In April of 2015, Blair pled guilty to 1 count of homicide felony murder for Stephen's death and 1 count of homicide premeditated murder in the 1st degree for the death of Stoney. During her testimony, Blair elaborated on the torture she inflicted upon her son and daughter. She was quoted by the Detroit Free Press as saying, "I don't feel no remorse for the death of them demons." Blair was escorted out of the courtroom on multiple occasions for outbursts and screaming. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Throughout her time in prison, Blair has twice been charged with the assault of a prison employee, once in May of 2018 and again a couple of months later in July. For each assault, a minimum of 3 years and 2 months in prison was added on to her life sentence.
Okay. That life sentence is not enough for her torturing those babies, knocking her child's eye out of her eye socket and forcing her to lay in her own blood. Slowly starts to starve her baby. She then scalds her son till she see his feet bubbling, her words. She needed the electric chair. Or she needed to die by lethal injection, which is a very painful death. Life sentences is too easy for her. Then her outbursts in the courtroom, very angry, violent. It's just too much. Cree says, my friend wants to be a mom so bad, and then it's women like this. Cree, this woman is a psychopath. It's very heart-wrenching when good mothers that will make good mothers and take care of their children are unable to bear children, and these mothers that are and can have children have multiple. This woman had 4 children and abused them all, probably from birth. At some point, she should have stopped having children, but that's too easy. She continued to have children. Her own unhealed trauma she put on those babies. I don't believe it was ever a sexual abuse type thing. I think that's the story she told in her first initial interview. I think it's something that was in her head that she felt like maybe been going on. The kids denied it, and she began to get angry. And in one of her drunken stages, she says she goes in rage when she's drinking. She beat them. Now, it wasn't her intention, her words during her interview, to kill the son. But then she later says she glad she killed the demons and will do it again. So her story was all over the place. So I believe it was done intentional. Also, she lied several times, and then the fact that you kill your children and then victimize your other two living children to not only have to hear their siblings being murdered and tortured and couldn't help them. That was the most helpless feeling for these babies. And then you then turn around and make the oldest child, you show them their body frozen in the freezer. Then you make the oldest child put the baby on top of her sibling. It's a cold day in hell waiting for that mama. Yes, I believe she took the abuse. She made up the essay because of her own unhealed. It may have been some abuse. I believe her mom was very abusive. I can't remember whether she said her mom was abusing her or not, but I believe she was being abused as well, along with the sexual assault. And she was already an angry child. And to be an angry child and become someone's mother was very irresponsible on her part. And then to hurt those babies, them babies probably was beat beyond recognition. As the coroner stated, the kids had multiple injuries, as well as DCFS had reports of abuse from the other ones. I agree, Cree. She probably, if any sexual assault was going on, she probably was the one that was doing it. Right. I think so, anti-violence. I think so. That may have been it. This woman, she got more charges on to a life sentence. She's very hostile. She's more hostile than Angela. Angela sits and laughs. Angela Simpson, the one that we did earlier, she sits and laughs and kind of gives this death stare. But the type of hostility that she's showing, Angela did not. And Angela seems to have a soft spot for her children because she didn't want to talk about them, and she got really teary-eyed when bringing them up. So this woman here, just pure evil, killed them, tortured your own children, then decided to starve her. She felt like feeding her was wrong. She needed to starve her. Starving her is not what killed her. She then sits on the bed and strangled her, which is the fixation. She strangled her and killed her. So this baby had to suffer for about 2 weeks with her eye gouged out of the socket, probably some internal injuries. She then are left, probably couldn't use the bathroom. She's probably covered in her own feces. She could not eat. And her mom then comes, the baby weak and scared. She sees her mom in there. She sits on the bed. And she then strangles the baby. And then after she's died so casually, she tells the oldest daughter to put the baby in the freezer. Yes, her other children is alive. Anti-violence says they lives with a relative. And I pray that they are getting, they have gotten, because this has been over 11 years ago, they have gotten the help that they need. Yeah, this happened in No, the reason why they went to her door in Michigan is because she was being evicted. She hadn't paid her rent in 2015. That's why they went to the door. And when the eviction crew showed up to remove her furniture from the property, they stumbled upon something that will haunt them for years, and that was the freezer. The two of Black children were found in a locked inside her freezer in the garage. That's how they discovered her. She was being evicted. And when they was removing her property to set on the curb, they opened up the freezer and found the kids in there. That would have been it for me. Done deal. I would have needed some really serious help. You know, so I hope that the people, maintenance or whomever that discovered those babies, they got them some help as well. So they discovered the babies in the freezer, and she didn't seem to have any remorse. She started crying, but it just didn't seem like she was had any remorse. Now, this is the type of woman that you slap the hell out of, because this ain't no excuse for this. And I'm sure in jail they're having to keep her away and not in general population, because I'm sure some of those women has gotten wind of what she's done to her children and probably have tried to come after her. Because, in prison, they have a code. You cannot go in for hurting children. You will catch some real stiff penalties for hurting children in there. So, any questions? We covered, as I stated, Angela Simpson. We talked a bit about John Bonet. We talked about O.J. Simpson, and then we have dived into this sick, twisted woman. I'm so glad she was not able to harm those other babies, and they are with someone that is going to love them, hopefully, and get them some help. And she in jail what she needs to be, but I still feel she should have been giving the death penalty. Oh, her family had cut her off. Let me put that on here. Let me see. Anti-violence said her family had stopped helping her financially and told her to get a job and go back to school, which is how she got evicted. That's how she got evicted, y'all. For y'all that's wondering why she was getting evicted. Well, she couldn't have a job. I don't know how she was feeding her alcohol habit. The kids probably was getting some form of state assistance. With 4 children, she probably was getting some form of state assistance, and she wasn't feeding them babies. She wasn't helping. She wasn't doing nothing, and she was drinking and doing all that. Let's see. Thank God the other kids are away from her, and pray that whoever has them. Yes, that's what I just said, that one. I pray that the babies are getting some help. They need to be in continuous counseling for what they have witnessed at such a young age. They're going to need continued support. So I pray that they are getting that, so they won't then become what they mom is. Hello, Miss Angela. Welcome. I understand that. Welcome. We was just we didn't do a show tonight. We just was diving into these women that create these heinous acts, and just talking about different murders and different cases. And we stumbled up on the woman they called the freezer mom that put her 2 children in the freezer. And then we talked about another murderer. I call her a serial killer, from Phoenix, Arizona, Angela Simpson. So yeah, guys, this woman here, she's in jail. They gave her 2 consecutive life sentences, so she will never see the light of day again. She will die in prison, but I think that sentence was too light for her torturing those babies, hurting those babies. she was doing something gruesome to these babies. You scald them till you seen his feet bubbling, the skin on his feet bubbling. Are you kidding me? It was just too much, y'all. So prayerfully, like I said, the other babies, I'm glad they got out and they was not able to be harmed. Angela Simpson had 4 children, so they have that in common, but they don't mention them, but it doesn't say what they were harmed, so they're probably with the her family or the dad's family. So yeah, that is the story of the freezer mom, and it is a sick, twisted chick for real. She's definitely a psychopath. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. I remember that case, and she fled to Texas. She fled to Texas, and they caught her in Texas. Yes, ma'am. Here in my where I'm from in Shreveport, Louisiana, Miss Angela is talking about one of the cases where the young lady, let me see what her name was. Hold on. You just made me remember. Let me find out what her name was. Let me get some details on that. We can look up any case y'all remember, y'all. I do good at diving in. Okay. Oh, they was 2 boys. Okay, this was in 2001, y'all. One died and one was injured. Her name is Erika. Oh, your son is engaged to her sister. To her sister. Okay. How many has she been sentenced yet, Miss Angela? So her 5-year-old son was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. He's expected to recover, but the other baby died. And yeah, they found her. This sad. They gave her life. Great. Because she could have gave them babies away. And if you guys are not familiar how Cross Lake looks, this is the Cross Lake Bridge. I have to travel it if I'm going into Shreveport because I live in Bossier. Let me share my screen with y'all so y'all can see where she threw these babies from. This is where she threw those babies from. You drive across this bridge if you coming from Bossier, Shreveport, or Texarkana, and stuff like that, going into Pines Road, etc. And she pulled on the side of the bridge and she threw them over. Miss Angela says she had mental issues. So with them giving her mental issues, did they, what you said she had mental issues, I mean, did they say anything about that in court? Oh, she was competent enough to for trial. So She couldn't have played mentally insane. They didn't even. Yes, the freezer mom is definitely worse. I agree. The freezer mom is definitely worse. The freezer mom is on a whole next level of psychopath. Oh, she represented herself. Whoa. Okay. Well, that went her defense. Because clearly, well, they can't violate her rights on representing herself. So they couldn't say they would have violated her amendment rights in the right to represent herself. They couldn't. They couldn't. Yeah, they couldn't do that. They couldn't tell her no, although some of them knew that it was a bad habit. They couldn't tell her no. Okay, let me put this up. Anti-violence say to be considered competent to stand trial, a person must have the mental ability to understand the charges against them, comprehend the court proceedings, and effectively communicate with their lawyer. So she was able to be communicative. She was able to speak for herself and all of that, because they didn't even take into account that she was mentally ill. Her name was Eureka Black. If you guys want to look up the story, Shreveport Police is where I'm from. I'm originally from Shreveport, Louisiana. I don't live in Shreveport anymore. I live in Bossier. Bossier is right across the bridge. But they handle crime and stuff like that a lot different. I will never move back to Shreveport because it doesn't seem like enough is being done for the amount of shootings that's going on over there. So yeah, this is the story on what happened. The infant baby died. So the baby that died was her infant son. The 5-year-old did survive though. The 5-year-old did survive, and that is great. Hopefully he is getting, this happened a few years back. So he's about almost 10 years old or 10. Prayerfully, he's getting the help that he needs as well. Angela says she'll never move back either. I don't blame you. So yeah, if you guys want to look up that story, that is definitely a very sick. Oh, she had another child that she didn't throw over the bridge, Angela? Because she threw 2 over the bridge. She had another child too? Wow, that's shocking. Anti-violence, are you on the panel? All right. Do anyone have any questions, any more cases they want me to look up, or anything else? Oh, it kicked you out. Oh yeah, you know how I was just gonna tell you to commentate for me while I go check to make sure Destiny is in bed. But do anybody have any more cases they want me to look up or they think about or whatever? Okay, yeah, you guys make sure if there's some cases you guys want us to dive into, go over about these murderers. Like I said, I used to do this for a living, and these are definitely cases that I will write a report on and cite these sites because they are great information. So we thank you guys so much for joining us. This was a different type of fixing your crowns. I appreciate you, anti-violence. We will be live on Friday. We're going to talk about the caregivers that take care of either terminally ill parents or take care of sick children. They don't have enough of an outlet. And so we want to give them an outlet and let them know that they are not left alone. Not too many people talk about the people that cares for people, and they have to slowly watch the people that they love deteriorate. They have, whether it's cancer, or they end up being in a car wreck, or they have a terminally ill child. No one gives the help or seem to know what they go through psychologically. I'm going to say that. It takes a toll on a caregiver psychologically to see someone slowly demise before your eyes that you loved. And so we're going to talk about being a caregiver. What does a caregiver mean? We're going to have some resources available for a person that had to quit their job to care for a sick loved one. We're going to talk about the things that they can do to make sure that they're taking care of themselves, because a lot of times a caregiver do not take care of themselves. They're so busy taking care of the sick loved ones or sick friend or sick husband that they don't take care of themselves. So we want to make sure we touch on caregivers and information about a caregiver. You guys can share stories if you would like about a caregiver that you know. Also, on this live, I will be giving away a love basket to one of the guests. If you guys know anything about my KGJA live, we give away some awesome gifts. So I will be doing a care basket. Valentine's Day is coming up, and so I want to be a blessing to someone else. You guys come in, you pick a number in mid of the show. I will expose the number. The person that has the number will win the gift. If 2 people have it, 2 people get it. So you guys come on. It will be Friday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you guys are not busy, please make sure you guys tune in. All right. Again, it will be on caregivers, and I think this is going to bless a lot of people that is going through the same exact thing and don't know what to do or how to get out and get some help. So you guys be blessed. You guys have a blessed Wednesday. I'm about to go make sure my little lady is in the bed for school tomorrow. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, that one, Brittany, Angela, Cree, everyone, anti-violence. You know, I love and appreciate you. You guys have a blessed night. And if it's God's will, I will see you guys back here on Friday. Okay? Y'all be blessed. Good night.